Welcome, dear listener. Thank you for choosing to share this quiet time with us. Find your most comfortable space, perhaps a cozy armchair or nestled under a soft blanket, and allow your breathing to deepen, matching the tranquil rhythm of the rails. My name is Silas, and I find solace and joy in slow travel, not merely to see new places, but to truly experience them, to absorb their unique essence from the comfort of my traveling home, the wanderer. It is a gentle journey, one allowing for thoughtful contemplation and an appreciation for the delicate beauty that so often goes unnoticed. My travels aboard the Wanderer have carried me to diverse destinations, from the vibrant colors and rhythms of Havana to the sun-drenched serenity of Valencia's orange groves and the modern architecture of Melbourne. Each city imparts its gentle wisdom, a cherished memory preserved within the constant cadence of the train's wheels. Now, that familiar melody carries me north, over the tranquil Scandinavian countryside, towards a city nestled on the edge of a fjord, Oslo. The air feels clean, the promise of the sea on the breeze. In the chapters that follow, we shall step into Oslo, feeling the crisp, clean air on our faces as we amble along the harbor, listening to the distant calls of seabirds and the soft sway of boats. We will uncover pockets of stillness amidst the city's quiet hum, explore the textures of aged stone and freshly painted wood, perhaps discover warmth in a shared moment of companionship or a steaming cup of coffee. It is these delicate discoveries, these quiet observations, that I hope to share with you in our voyage. This invitation to slow down, to observe with intention, and to find peace in the present moment is offered to you, just as I seek to find it myself. As the gentle sounds of the journey settle, we arrive and begin our exploration of Oslo together. And if you find comfort and tranquility in sharing these experiences, perhaps consider liking this recording or subscribing to the channel to join me as the journey unfolds. For now, let us begin and allow the gentle dawn of Oslo to greet us. Chapter 1. Northward Bound. The steady rhythm of the wheels beneath me is a familiar comfort, a low resonant hum that underscores the shifting landscape outside my window. The Wanderer moves smoothly through the Norwegian countryside, a ribbon of dark green weaving through vistas painted in broad strokes of nature's quiet palette. Forests, dense with pines and birch, stand sentinel on rolling hills, their forms softened by the gentle, diffused light of the northern sky. Occasionally, the trees part, revealing glimpses of deep, still water, the dark, mysterious blue of a fjord reaching inland like a silent, watery finger. It's a landscape that speaks of resilience, of ancient calm. I lean my head against the cool glass, tracing the path of a lone bird soaring effortlessly above the treetops. The air inside my carriage is warm, carrying the faint, familiar sense of worn leather from my satchel, old books lining the small shelf, and the lingering aroma of the tea I finished moments ago. Outside, even through the sealed window, I imagine the air is crisp, clean, carrying the scent of pine needles and damp earth, a distinct freshness that feels different from the landscapes left behind. The journey itself is a transition, not just geographically, but in feeling, a slow shedding of one place to make space for the next. The light changes subtly as we travel further north. It seems thinner, perhaps, clearer, lacking the hazy weight of more southern climes. Shadows stretch long, even in the middle parts of the day, painting delicate patterns across the undulating terrain. Small clusters of wooden houses, painted in traditional reds and ochres, appear occasionally, nestled by the water's edge or tucked into sheltered valleys. They seem part of the landscape, belonging here as much as the rocks and trees, silent witnesses to the slow passage of time and seasons. My gaze drifts across the interior of my carriage, my temporary moving home. The polished wood panels gleam softly in the ambient light, reflecting the passing scenery like a muted watercolor. My notebook lies open on the small table beside me, its pages blank for now. Sometimes the impressions are too fluid, too encompassing to capture immediately in words or images. It is enough, in these moments, simply to observe, to allow the quiet grandeur of the journey to wash over me, imprinting itself on memory rather than paper. I watch as a sliver of coastline comes into view, the steely gray of the sea meeting the rugged shore. Small waves, capped with white, break gently against dark rocks. There's a sense of openness here, of vastness, that contrasts with the enclosed feeling of the forests. The air outside must surely carry the salt tang of the sea now, mingling with the scent of pine. It speaks of arrival, a nearing of the coastal city that awaits. Oslo. Even the name feels calm, resting softly on the tongue. My thoughts drift, not to specific plans or schedules, but to the simple act of exploration that lies ahead. The quiet curiosity that fuels these journeys stirs within me. What small details will catch my eye? What quiet corners will offer moments of reflection? There is no rush, no checklist. The beauty, I find, often lies in the pauses, the unplanned observations, the gentle rhythm of discovery that unfolds naturally when one simply walks and watches. The train slows almost imperceptibly, the rhythm of the wheels shifting to a lower cadence. Outskirts appear glimpses of modern structures blending with the natural terrain, signs of habitation growing more frequent. The raw wilderness begins to recede, replaced by a landscape shaped by human hands, yet still deeply connected to the surrounding nature. The feeling of transition intensifies, a quiet anticipation, building not with excitement, but with a gentle readiness to arrive. I take a slow, deep breath, feeling the familiar sensation of arrival settling within me. The journey's motion gives way to the stillness of the destination. Closing my eyes for a moment, I hold on to the feeling of the vast forests, the deep fjords, the crisp air. These are the memories that form the approach, the quiet prelude to stepping out into the gentle dawn of Oslo. The train glides onward, carrying me towards the heart of the city. Chapter 2. The station's soft light. The final sigh of the brakes brings the wanderer to a gentle halt within the cavernous space of Oslo Central Station. The familiar hum of the journey fades, replaced by the softer, more varied sounds of the station, the low murmur of conversations in Norwegian and other languages, the distant echo of announcements, the soft glide of luggage wheels across polished floors. I remained seated for a moment, allowing the transition from the enclosed quiet of my carriage to the open space of the station to settle. Stepping down onto the platform, I draw my light jacket closer. The air here is cool, carrying a faint, clean scent, different from the pine-laden air of the countryside. I pause, taking in the station's architecture. It feels modern, functional, yet possesses a certain understated elegance. Large panels of glass form parts of the ceiling and walls, allowing generous amounts of natural light to flood the space, illuminating the clean lines and smooth surfaces. It feels open, airy, lacking the heavy historical weight of some older European stations I've visited. My well-worn leather satchel feels comfortable over my shoulder, holding my notebook, camera, and the few essentials I carry with me when leaving the train for longer explorations. I begin to walk, moving at my own unhurried pace towards the main concourse. People move around me with a quiet efficiency, a sense of purpose without rush. There's a calmness to the flow, an absence of the frantic energy one sometimes feels in large transport hubs. Glancing up, I notice signs in clear, simple fonts, easy to understand even without knowing the language well. I observe the details, the smooth texture of the light gray floor tiles underfoot, the minimalist design of the benches, the way light reflects off the steel railings of escalators. Small shops line the edges of the concourse, their displays neat and uncluttered. The dominant colors seem to be muted tones, grays, whites, blues, accented by the warmth of wood in some fixtures. It feels organized, thoughtful, designed for ease and comfort. My first impression of Oslo, reflected in its gateway, is one of clarity and calm competence. Reaching the station exit, I step outside into the city proper. The air is noticeably cooler now, carrying the faint, unmistakable tang of the nearby sea. The sounds change, too, the gentle hum of trams gliding past, the distant sound of a ship's horn from the harbor, the softer cadence of city traffic compared to larger metropolises. I stand for a moment, simply absorbing the atmosphere, letting my senses adjust to this new environment. The sky above is a pale blue, streaked with high, thin clouds. A row of taxis waits nearby. I approach one, the driver offering a polite nod. I give him the address of the apartment I've arranged in Grünerløkka, a neighborhood I've read is known for its relaxed atmosphere and proximity to the Akershus River. He nods again, understanding, and soon we are pulling smoothly away from the station, merging into the city's gentle flow. The drive allows glimpses of Oslo's character, modern buildings interspersed with older architecture, green spaces appear infrequently, the ever-present sense of water nearby. Through the taxi window, I watch people walking along the pavements, dressed in practical, comfortable clothing. There's an ease in their movements, a lack of pretension. Parks and squares flash by, dotted with sculptures or simply offering benches for quiet contemplation. The city feels lived in, accessible, designed as much for its inhabitants' well-being as for efficiency. It resonates with my own preference for understated beauty and quiet observation. As we cross a bridge, I catch sight of a river flowing through the city, the Akershus perhaps. Its banks are lined with trees and walking paths, hints of the old industrial buildings I expect to find in Grünerløkka, visible in the distance. The promise of settling into a quiet corner of this neighborhood feels inviting. The taxi turns onto a quieter street, and the sense of arrival deepens. The station, with its soft light and calm energy, already feels like a fitting introduction to this northern city. Chapter 3. A Hygge Hideaway. The taxi pulls up outside a pleasant, unassuming apartment building on a quiet street in Grünerløkka. The facade is painted a soft, muted color, fitting seamlessly with its neighbors. Paying the driver with a quiet thank you, I step out onto the pavement, my satchel feeling reassuringly familiar on my shoulder. The air here, away from the main thoroughfares, is still and quiet, carrying the scent of damp earth from nearby trees and the faint, clean smell of the river I glimpsed earlier. Inside, the building is clean and well maintained. I find the apartment easily, the key turning smoothly in the lock. Stepping inside, I'm greeted by a sense of simple, understated comfort. The space isn't large, but it feels welcoming. Pale wooden floors lie underfoot, reflecting the soft light coming through a large window. The furniture is functional, minimalist, yet comfortable looking. A small sofa upholstered in a soft gray fabric. A simple wooden dining table with 2 chairs. A bookshelf built into an alcove. It feels uncluttered, peaceful. I walk toward the window, which overlooks the street below. Tall trees, their leaves just beginning to show the first hints of autumn color, line the pavement. Across the way, similar apartment buildings stand quietly, their windows offering glimpses of other lives without feeling intrusive. There's a sense of community here, but also of privacy, a balance that feels comfortable. I notice small details, a bicycle leaning against a railing, flower boxes on a windowsill, the neat pattern of the cobblestones below. Slowly, I begin to unpack the few items I carry in my satchel. My notebook and pen find their place on the small wooden desk, tucked into a corner near the window, perfectly positioned to catch the natural light. My camera rests beside it, hanging my light jacket on a hook by the door. I instantly feel a sense of temporary belonging. The simple act of placing my few possessions, transforming the space into my own quiet haven for the next few days. The apartment feels imbued with a sense of Hygge, that untranslatable Danish and Norwegian concept of coziness, contentment, and well-being. A small balcony leads off the main room. I slide the glass door open and step outside. The air is cool, refreshing. Below, the street is quiet, save for the occasional passerby or the distant hum of city life. From here, I can hear the gentle murmur of the Akershus River, a constant, soothing background sound. It flows nearby, hidden just beyond the buildings, its presence felt more than seen. Looking up, the sky is vast, the light soft. It feels good to be still, grounded in this peaceful corner. I explore the small kitchen area, compact, clean, equipped with the essentials. A simple kettle, a small refrigerator, a few mugs hanging neatly on hooks. It's everything needed for simple meals and warm drinks, reinforcing the feeling of self-contained comfort. The whole apartment speaks of practicality and quiet enjoyment, favoring warmth and ease over unnecessary embellishment. It reflects a certain Scandinavian sensibility I've come to appreciate, finding beauty in simplicity and function. Returning to the main room, I sink into the soft cushions of the armchair near the window. The silence isn't empty. It's filled with the subtle sounds of the building, the neighborhood, the distant city. The gentle murmur of the river is a constant presence. I feel the tension of travel easing away, replaced by a quiet curiosity about this neighborhood and the city beyond. There is no need to rush out immediately, no pressure to start ticking off sites. The simple act of settling in, of feeling grounded, is itself a vital part of the journey. From this chair, I watch the light shift outside as the afternoon begins to wane. The shadows lengthen, the colors deepen slightly. A cyclist pedals leisurely down the street, disappearing around the corner. The world outside continues its gentle rhythm, and for now, I am content to be a quiet observer from my Hygge hideaway, feeling the calm of Oslo seep into my bones, ready to explore its quiet corners when the time feels right. Chapter 4. Grünerløkka's gentle flow. The morning light filters softly through the apartment window, promising a clear, cool day. After a simple breakfast and a warm cup of tea, I feel ready to explore the neighborhood. Stepping out onto the quiet street, I pull my collar up slightly against the crisp air and begin to walk, drawn toward the sound of the Akershus River, the artery that seems to give this part of Oslo its gentle pulse. Finding the riverside path is easy, and I soon join the flow of walkers, joggers, and cyclists moving along its banks. The river itself is not particularly wide, but it moves with a steady, determined pace, its surface reflecting the blue sky and the shapes of the buildings lining its course. The path alongside is well maintained, winding beneath mature trees whose leaves rustle softly in the slight breeze. The sound of the flowing water is constant, a soothing murmur that forms the soundtrack to my walk. It feels peaceful here, a ribbon of nature woven directly into the urban fabric. I admire the buildings that flank the river. Many are old industrial structures, former mills and workshops, perhaps built from sturdy red brick, their architectural details speaking of a different era. Now they house a vibrant mix of cafes, small art galleries, independent shops, and apartments. Large windows look out onto the water, plants cascade from balconies, and colorful murals occasionally brighten weathered brick walls. It's a pleasing blend of history and contemporary life, regeneration achieved without erasing the past. Pausing on one of the many small bridges that span the river, I lean against the railing, watching the water swirl around the stone supports below. Sunlight glints off the ripples, creating fleeting patterns of light. Across the river, people sit outside a small cafe wrapped in blankets provided against the morning chill, sipping coffee and talking quietly. There's a relaxed, almost village-like atmosphere, despite being in the heart of the city. It feels like a place where people take the time to enjoy simple moments. My steps lead me further along the path past small parks and grassy banks where people sit reading or simply enjoying the view. I notice the details, the texture of the old brickwork, the way moss grows in the crevices of stone walls, the intricate ironwork on a bridge railing, a brightly painted door tucked away down a side alley. My camera remains in my satchel for now. Sometimes it feels better to simply absorb the scene directly without the filter of a lens. I find a small bakery cafe tucked into one of kaleidoscopic repurposed buildings, the aroma of coffee and cinnamon drifting invitingly onto the path. Inside, it's warm and cozy, with simple wooden tables and soft lighting. I order a café, the Norwegian word for coffee, feeling comfortable on my tongue, and find a quiet table near the window. The coffee is strong and hot, warming my hands as I cradle the mug. From here, I watch the gentle life of the riverbank unfold outside. Sketching seems appropriate for this place, capturing the lines of the buildings, the curve of the river, the posture of a lone figure, gazing into the water from a nearby bench. My pencil moves slowly across the page of my notebook, translating observation into simple lines. It's not about creating a perfect representation, but rather about deepening the act of looking, noticing the subtle interplay of shapes and shadows. The cafe is quiet, filled only with the soft clink of cups and low conversation. Finishing my coffee and sketch, I step back out into the cool air, feeling refreshed and centered. The gentle flow of the river seems to mirror the pace of life in this neighborhood, steady, unhurried, quietly beautiful. Grünerløkka reveals its charms subtly, not through grand monuments, but through its lived-in atmosphere, its blend of nature and creativity, its appreciation for the simple rhythm of water flowing past historic walls. My walk continues, following the river's course, content to simply drift with its gentle current. Chapter 5. Whispers of History, Akershus Fortress. Drawn by the promise of history and expansive views, I make my way towards Akershus Fortress. It sits strategically on a headland overlooking the harbor and the Oslo Fjord, a silent stone sentinel guarding the city's maritime approach. The walk towards it is pleasant, leading through quieter parts of the city center before rising gently towards the fortress gates. Even from a distance, the sheer scale of the stone walls is impressive, speaking of centuries of defense and resilience. Passing through the main gate feels like stepping back in time. The sounds of the city recede, replaced by the crunch of gravel underfoot, the cry of seagulls wheeling overhead, and the whisper of the wind moving through the ancient ramparts. The fortress complex is a maze of buildings, courtyards, and defensive walls, dating back to medieval times but altered and expanded over centuries. I begin to wander, letting curiosity guide my path, choosing quieter walkways away from the main clusters of visitors. The stone walls are immense, solid, built from massive blocks weathered by time and the elements. I run my hand over the cool, rough surface, feeling the texture, imagining the countless hands that built and defended this place. Sunlight casts sharp shadows across the courtyards, highlighting architectural details, arched doorways, narrow windows, crenellated battlements. There's a profound sense of stillness here, a weight of history that feels palpable in the air. I find a path leading up onto the outer ramparts. From here, the view is breathtaking. The vast expanse of the Oslo Fjord stretches out before me, its deep blue waters dotted with small islands and the white sails of distant boats. Ferries glide silently across the water, connecting the city to the surrounding communities. Below, the modern harbor bustles quietly, cranes moving with slow grace, containers stacked like colorful building blocks. The contrast between the ancient fortress and the contemporary maritime life below is striking. Finding a weathered wooden bench set against the thick stone wall, I sit, content to simply gaze out at the view. The wind is stronger up here, carrying the clean, salty scent of the fjord. It tugs gently at my jacket, a cool reminder of the exposed location. Seagulls soar on the updrafts, their calls echoing in the wide open space. It's a place conducive to reflection, prompting thoughts about the passage of time, the layers of history beneath my feet, the enduring relationship between this city and the sea. Nearby, old cannons still stand guard, their dark metal shapes silhouetted against the sky. They are silent now, relics of a more turbulent past, but they serve as powerful symbols of the fortress's long history. I imagine soldiers centuries ago standing watch on these same ramparts, gazing out at this same fjord, perhaps feeling the same cool wind on their faces. There is a connection across time in places like this, a shared human experience that transcends the centuries. I explore some of the quieter courtyards away from the main paths. Cobblestones, worn smooth by countless footsteps, pave the ground. Small patches of grass grow stubbornly between the stones. The buildings here feel solid, enduring, their windows like dark eyes looking out impassively. There are few people here, allowing the silence to deepen, broken only by the wind and the distant sounds from the harbor. It feels like discovering hidden corners, secret spaces within the larger complex. Leaving the fortress feels like returning to the present. As I walk back down toward the city, the sounds and sights of contemporary Oslo gradually reemerge. Yet the feeling of the fortress lingers, the coolness of the stone, the vastness of the fjord view, the quiet weight of history. Akershus is more than just a collection of old buildings. It's a place that holds stories, whispers of the past carried on the wind, offering a moment of profound connection to the enduring spirit of this city by the sea. Chapter 6. Floating on the Fjord. The ferry terminal hums with a quiet, orderly energy. Families, commuters, and fellow quiet explorers like myself wait patiently near the water's edge. The air is distinctly maritime here, a blend of salt, diesel from the idling engines, and the cool dampness rising from the fjord. I purchase a ticket for one of the small islands, choosing a destination that sounds peaceful, Hovedøya perhaps, known for its ruins and walking paths. The prospect of being out on the water surrounded by the fjord's expanse feels like a natural extension of Oslo's connection to the sea. Boarding the ferry is a simple affair. I find a spot on the open deck, near the railing, wanting to feel the breeze and have an unobstructed view. The ferry pulls away from the quay with a gentle thrumming of its engine, the vibrations felt faintly through the deck beneath my feet. The city skyline begins to recede, the modern lines of the Opera House and the Barcode Project contrasting with the historic silhouette of Akershus Fortress. Seen from the water, Oslo presents yet another perspective, a city embraced by hills and sea. The fjord opens up around us, vast and blue-gray under the soft northern sky. Small islands, clad in dark green forests and dotted with colorful wooden cabins, Hygge. I recall they are called drift past. Some are rocky and wild, others look more cultivated, with small piers jutting out into the water. The air moving across the deck is brisk, invigorating. I pull my hands into my pockets, breathing deeply, savoring the clean, sharp scent of the fjord. The rhythmic sound of the water parting at the ferry's bow is mesmerizing. Other passengers mostly keep to themselves, some reading, others chatting quietly, many simply gazing out at the scenery, lost in their own thoughts. There's a comfortable sense of shared solitude on deck. I watch the gulls follow in our wake, their calls sharp and clear above the engine's hum. They dip and soar with effortless grace, masters of this airy, watery realm. It feels good to be moving at this slower pace, dictated by the water rather than wheels, allowing the landscape to unfold gradually. As we approach Hovedøya, the ferry slows. The island appears tranquil, mostly covered in trees, with glimpses of old stone walls near the shoreline, the ruins I'd read about. Stepping onto this small pier feels like entering a different world, quieter still than the city, insulated by the surrounding water. Only a handful of other passengers disembark here. The ferry pulls away, its engine sounds fading, leaving behind a profound sense of peace, underscored by the lapping of waves against the shore and the rustle of leaves. I follow a well-marked path leading into the woods. The ground is soft underfoot, covered in pine needles and damp earth. Sunlight filters through the canopy, creating dappled patterns on the forest floor. The air smells rich, loamy, mixed with the scent of pine resin. Soon I come across the stone ruins of a medieval monastery, Cistercian, I believe. Walls stand roofless, open to the sky, clothed in moss and ivy. It's incredibly atmospheric, history merging seamlessly with nature. I wander through the silent archways, imagining the lives lived here centuries ago. Finding a secluded spot overlooking the small pebbly cove, I sit on a smooth, sun-warmed rock. The only sounds are the gentle waves, the wind in the trees, and the occasional bird call. Time seems to slow down here, measured by the shifting light and the rhythm of the water. I take out my notebook, not necessarily to write or sketch, but simply to hold something familiar. It's moments like these unplanned, quiet encounters with nature and history that often feel like the heart of my journeys. After a while, feeling rested and renewed, I slowly make my way back towards the pier, following a different path that winds along the coastline. The views across the fjord towards the other islands and the distant city are beautiful. The ferry arrives quietly, right on schedule, and I board for the return journey, carrying the island's tranquility with me. Floating back towards Oslo, I feel a deeper appreciation for the city's unique setting, its intimate relationship with the fjord, and the quiet escapes it offers, just a short boat ride away. Chapter 7. Sculpture Park Serenity, Vigeland Park. Vigeland Park unfolds before me, a vast expanse of green lawns, formal gardens, and pathways, all serving as an open-air gallery for Gustav Vigeland's life's work. It's a famous landmark, and even on this weekday afternoon, there are quite a few people strolling through. Yet, the sheer scale of the park allows for pockets of quiet and opportunities for individual contemplation, which is what I seek. I bypass the more crowded central axis near the monolith and the bridge, initially choosing a path that skirts the outer edges. The air here feels different from the fjord, softer, filled with the scent of mown grass, blooming flowers, and damp earth beneath the trees. Sunlight streams through the leaves, casting long shadows across the lawns. I walk slowly, observing not just the sculptures, but the park itself, the careful landscaping, the mature trees, the way the natural environment frames the art. It feels like a place designed for wandering, for discovery at one's own pace. My attention is drawn to some of the smaller, more intimate sculpture groupings set back from the main walkways, figures captured in moments of quiet interaction or solitary individuals seemingly lost in thought. I pause before a sculpture of an elderly man holding a small child, the tenderness in the weathered bronze surprisingly moving. Vigeland captured the entire span of human life and emotion in these figures, but it's the quieter moments, the subtle gestures, that resonate most deeply with me today. I find a bench partially shaded by a large maple tree, overlooking a small pond where ducks glide serenely across the water's surface. From here, I can observe the flow of people without feeling part of the crowd. Families push strollers, couples walk hand in hand, individuals sit reading on the grass. The park serves as a backdrop for everyday life, its monumental art integrated into the public space. There's a unique blend of the grand and the ordinary here. I notice the texture of the sculptures, the smooth, cool feel of the granite, the rougher, weathered patina of the bronze. Light plays across the surfaces, defining muscles, capturing the curve of a cheekbone, the fold of drapery. Even in stillness, the figures possess a powerful sense of energy and movement. I reflect on the sheer dedication it must have taken to create such a vast and cohesive body of work. A single artistic vision realized on such an immense scale. Rather than trying to see everything, I allow myself to be drawn to specific details. The intricate pattern of wrought iron in one of the gates, the way sunlight illuminates the droplets of water in a fountain, the expressive hands of a particular statue. It's often in these small details that the larger essence of a place reveals itself. My focus shifts from the monumental to the minute, finding serenity in close observation rather than broad overview. Later, I walk across the famous bridge, lined with its dynamic bronze figures. While many focus on the iconic Sinatagen, the angry boy, I find myself drawn to other figures, a woman leaning protectively over a child, a man seemingly struggling with unseen burdens. Each sculpture tells a story or perhaps invites the viewer to project their own story onto it. I keep my pace slow, allowing space between myself and other visitors, focusing on my own quiet interaction with the art. Leaving the park as the afternoon light begins to soften, I feel a sense of calm introspection. Vigeland Park is not just a collection of sculptures. It's an exploration of humanity, set within a peaceful natural landscape. It invites contemplation on life, relationships, and the passage of time. My experience wasn't about absorbing every detail, but about finding moments of quiet connection, appreciating the artistry and the serene atmosphere that permeates this unique green heart of Oslo. Chapter 8. A Taste of Brunost. The search for Brunost leads me to a small, inviting deli cafe in a quieter part of the city center, away from the main tourist thoroughfares. The shop window displays local cheeses, cured meats, and freshly baked bread, promising authentic flavors. Inside, the air is filled with the comforting aromas of coffee, baked goods, and something else, a faint, sweet, almost caramel-like scent that I suspect might be the brown cheese itself. The atmosphere is warm and welcoming, with just a few small wooden tables occupied by locals enjoying a quiet break. I approach the counter, feeling a gentle curiosity. The selection of cheeses is impressive, but my eye searches for the distinctive reddish-brown blocks of Brunost. A friendly server with kind eyes notices my interest. "Can I help you?" she asks, softly in English, sensing perhaps that I'm not a local. "I was hoping to try some Brunost," I reply, feeling a little unsure of how it's typically eaten. "Of course," she smiles. "It's very Norwegian. Would you like it sliced on some fresh bread, or perhaps with waffler waffles? That's very traditional." The idea of waffles appeals, feeling like a gentle introduction. "With waffles, please," I decide, "and perhaps a black coffee." She nods warmly and begins preparing my order. I find a small table near the window, watching the quiet street outside. Rain begins to fall softly, pattering against the glass, making the cozy interior feel even more welcoming. The sound is soothing, a gentle accompaniment to the quiet murmur of conversation within the cafe. The server soon brings my order, a heart-shaped waffle, still warm, topped with delicate thin shavings of the Brunost, alongside a steaming mug of black coffee. The cheese shavings are indeed a unique color, a warm caramel brown, and they look almost like chocolate curls. They have already begun to soften slightly on the warm waffle. The aroma is sweet, tangy, unlike any cheese I've encountered before. I take a moment just to appreciate the simple presentation, the care taken. Taking a bite, the flavor is surprising and complex. It's distinctly cheesy, yes, but also sweet, with pronounced notes of caramel and a subtle tanginess that cuts through the richness. The texture is smooth, melting easily in the mouth. Eaten with a soft, slightly crisp waffle, it's a delightful combination, comforting, unusual, and deeply satisfying. It tastes wholesome, traditional, like something perfected over generations. I understand why it holds a special place in Norwegian food culture. Sipping my strong black coffee provides a pleasant counterpoint to the sweetness of the cheese. I eat slowly, savoring the unique taste sensation. There's something wonderfully simple and grounding about trying a local specialty like this. It feels like a small key, unlocking a tiny part of the local identity, a connection made through shared flavor. The server catches my eye and smiles inquiringly. I nod, returning the smile. "It's very good," I say quietly. "Very unique." She seems pleased. Outside, the rain continues its soft drumming against the window pane. Inside, the cafe remains a pocket of warmth and quiet contentment. Finishing my waffle and coffee, I feel a simple sense of satisfaction. Trying Brunost wasn't about ticking an item off a list, but about engaging gently with the local culture through one of its most distinctive tastes. It was a small moment, unassuming, yet it feels like a genuine connection to place, experienced through the simple pleasure of food. Paying at the counter, I thank the server again. "Come back any time," she says kindly. Stepping back out into the soft rain, shielded by my jacket hood, I feel warmed from the inside. The unique taste of Brunost lingers pleasantly. It's another subtle layer added to my impression of Oslo, a city that reveals its character not just in grand sights, but in quiet cafes, friendly interactions, and the comforting taste of tradition on a rainy afternoon. Chapter 9. Last Light on the Opera House. As my time in Oslo draws towards a close, I feel drawn to make one final visit, choosing the iconic Opera House as the sun begins its descent towards the horizon. Its striking modern architecture, appearing to rise directly from the waters of the fjord, has captivated me from various viewpoints during my stay. Now, I want to experience it up close, to walk upon its famed sloping roof as the day ends. Approaching it, the white Carrara marble and glass facade seems to glow in a softening golden light. The gentle slope invites exploration, designed explicitly for people to walk upon, blurring the lines between building and public space. My footsteps echo slightly on the smooth, angled surface as I begin my ascent. The incline is gradual, easy to navigate. Other people are here too, sitting in small groups, taking photographs, or simply gazing out at the view. But the vastness of the roof allows for a sense of personal space, of individual experience. Reaching a higher point, I turn to face the city and the fjord. The late afternoon light is beautiful, bathing the scene in warm, honeyed tones. The waters of the fjord shimmer, reflecting the colors of the sky. The islands I visited by ferry look soft and distant. The sounds of the city seem muted from up here, replaced by the gentle breeze coming off the water and the distant cries of gulls. It feels peaceful, suspended between the city, the sea, and the sky. I find a spot to sit near the edge, the marble still holding a faint warmth from the day's sun. Below, boats move slowly in the harbor. Across the water, the buildings of Oslo are silhouetted against the gradually changing sky. It's a perfect vantage point for quiet reflection, for gathering the threads of my experiences here, the murmur of the Akershus, the weight of history at the fortress, the tranquility of the fjord islands, the artistry of Vigeland Park, the simple warmth of the cafe where I tasted Brunost. Back in the quiet sanctuary of my Grünerløkka apartment later that evening, the process of packing becomes a meditative act. Each item returned to my satchel carries a faint echo of its use here. The notebook holds sketches of the river, thoughts jotted down overlooking the fjord. The camera contains images of light on stone, water, and leaves. Folding my clothes, smoothing the worn leather of my bag, it's a gentle ritual of closure, acknowledging the end of this chapter while anticipating the next phase of the journey aboard the Wanderer. I stand on the small balcony one last time, breathing in the cool night air. The sounds of Grünerløkka are soft now, the distant murmur of conversation from a nearby restaurant, the occasional passing car, the constant, quiet presence of the river flowing nearby. The streetlights cast pools of warm light on the pavement below. There's a certain melancholy in leaving, always, but it's tempered by gratitude for the time spent, the moments gathered, the quiet connections made. My satchel rests near the door, ready for the morning's departure. The apartment, my temporary Hygge hideaway, feels still and quiet around me. I replay the sensory memories, the crisp fjord air, the taste of Brunost and strong coffee, the feel of ancient stone and smooth modern marble, the sound of flowing water and distant ferry horns. Oslo revealed itself gently, without fanfare, offering beauty in both its natural setting and its thoughtful design, in its history and its contemporary life. Closing the curtains, I prepare for a final night's rest in this peaceful corner of the city. The gentle dawn I anticipated upon arrival has unfolded into days of quiet discovery. Now, as dusk settles, I feel a sense of completion. Oslo has offered its unique blend of nature, culture, and tranquility, leaving a distinct, calm impression. The journey within the city ends, but the journey itself, aboard the Wanderer, is ready to resume, carrying the essence of Oslo northward. Chapter 10. Northern Stars. The familiar gentle motion of the Wanderer is a welcome embrace as we pull slowly away from Oslo Central Station. The platform lights slide past my window, blurring into streaks of soft yellow in the pre-dawn darkness. Inside the carriage, the low hum of the engine is a soothing constant, a familiar heartbeat resuming after the pause in the city. My home on rails moves steadily onward, carrying me away from the fjord and towards whatever lies next on this unhurried northern journey. Looking out the window, I watch the lights of Oslo recede into the distance. Streetlights become fewer. Buildings give way to darker shapes of trees and hills outlined against the faint glow of the departing city. The transition is gradual, a slow fading rather than an abrupt departure, mirroring the gentle pace of my arrival and stay. The city shrinks, becoming just another constellation of lights on the horizon, holding the memories of the past few days. I settle back into my comfortable armchair, the worn leather cool beneath my fingertips. My satchel rests on the seat beside me, containing my notebook and camera, tangible links to the experiences gathered. Opening the notebook, I reread a few phrases jotted down: fjord light, river's gentle flow, stone whispers history, taste of caramel cheese. Simple words, yet they evoke the sensory tapestry of my time in Oslo. Sometimes just a few words are enough to hold the essence of a place. The sky outside begins to lighten almost imperceptibly, shifting from inky black to the deepest shade of pre-dawn blue. Stars, invisible within the city's glow, begin to emerge, scattered like tiny diamonds across the vastness above. Watching them from the train window, moving through the dark landscape, always fills me with a sense of quiet awe. They are distant, constant companions on these solitary journeys, reminders of the scale of the world and the quiet beauty of the universe. My thoughts drift back to Oslo one last time. I picture the slope of the opera house roof under the setting sun, the tranquil green expanse of Vigeland Park, the sturdy walls of Akershus fortress standing guard over the water, the cozy cafe where I sheltered from the rain. Each memory is imbued with a sense of calm, reflecting the city's own peaceful character. It wasn't a city of loud pronouncements, but of quiet invitations to walk, to observe, to connect with nature, history, and simple pleasures. The wanderer picks up speed slightly, the clickety-clack rhythm becoming more defined as we move further into the countryside. The darkness outside remains profound, broken only by the occasional light from a distant farmhouse. Inside, the soft lamp beside my chair casts a warm glow, creating a cocoon of light and comfort within the moving train. It's in these moments, suspended between destinations, that I often feel most at peace, the journey itself providing a unique space for reflection. I close my notebook, feeling no need to write further for now. The experiences are settling within me, becoming part of the quiet collection of moments gathered from around the world. Oslo's gentle dawn has given way to the deep quiet of the northern night. Gratitude fills me for the safe passage, for the beauty witnessed, for the simple comfort of this moving sanctuary. The next destination remains unknown, part of the quiet adventure, but the journey itself is the constant thread. Leaning my head back against the armchair, I watch the northern stars wheel slowly past the window, the rhythmic motion of the train, the soft hum of the engine, the darkness outside. It's a perfect lullaby. Sleep begins to gently pull at the edges of my consciousness. Closing my eyes, I surrender to the journey, carrying the calm essence of Oslo with me as the wanderer travels steadily onward, deeper into the quiet mystery of the north.